I love it. Sing your blues and live your life. Ready? How are we doing? Hi. So I'm Reverend Sue at Joyful Gathering here in Collingswood, New Jersey, or in the whole universe. You can choose, right? We're all members of this great big universal love fest today. So I'm happy to be here. And today I want to talk a little bit about the divine paradox, the spiritual paradox that is. Because just as Norma was saying, we sing our blues but live our light. We are here in this universe living our lives here as human beings. And it is a paradox because those of us who open up to the spiritual perspective know it's all good. Divine right action is always in motion. However, from the spiritual perspective, absolutely true. And that is our truth. And we're grateful when we can know that. But when we're walking around, we don't always have that experience as something happens that jolts us into a very real and oftentimes difficult and challenging human experience. And we know it's all the same, but as people, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's a real jolt. Anybody else ever feel that way? It can be a real, uh-oh, what in the world is happening now, right? And I look around here at some of my friends and I think, wow, what in the world is happening now? Because I know we're all facing different challenges. Some of us more than others at certain times. And that does seem to be the ebb and flow of life, doesn't it? So I wanted to share a little bit about different perspectives and things that have helped me personally. And I know, as Reverend Rita's beautiful reading says, we can go to a place where we open up and let that divine wisdom and grace, God's grace, come down. Because it's here, and it's here for everybody. Although there are times when it's very, very difficult as a person to sometimes take it in, right? What did Jesus say? You know, knock on the door and they'll open it. But sometimes we don't even have the strength to knock on the door. It's here, but it's too much. And that's when we reach out to others to help us know the truth, to help us knock on the door. And why it's so important is people who have studied and know the truth and are connected to reach out to others. We never ever know when we might reach out to someone and help them accept the grace that's here for all of us. I wanted to start today a little bit about what one of my experiences. I'm kind of using this one because it was a little bit dramatic. I had a very successful coaching business. I traveled a lot. I dealt with lots of people. I spoke with lots of people. I gave seminars and lectures. It was very, very busy. It was great, and I loved it. However, it is a very demanding lifestyle, and as glamorous as it sounds to travel all over to San Francisco or Las Vegas or Orlando or you name it, New York, Boston, DC, it can also be very challenging to still be there for your family or be around for my grandbabies. You know, I haven't learned to bilocate. Anybody here learn to bilocate yet? I keep thinking that's one of the things on my bucket list. We'll learn to do that so I can do all these things at once. So anyway, what I did notice is that I began to really lose a lot of my hearing. And it became more and more challenging all the time. Also, I had a few people tell me that I wasn't speaking correctly, that I wasn't saying words properly. One client actually said to me, you know, you're beginning to talk like a deaf person. So I had to go, and I thought, all right, this isn't just me imagining things. I went and got my ears checked and went to the doctor. And this doctor said to me after he just examined me, and he said, you know, you look like somebody that sits around all day and eats bonbons and watches TV. You're fine. Just go home and don't worry about it. So that's what I was told. True. Okay, thanks. You go to medical school for that or what? So, at any point, a few months later, a friend of mine had some surgery on her eardrum, and she talked about this doctor who she loved. And I thought, maybe I'll go see this man. And when I did, he examined me and he sent me for MRI. And I knew when I got out of that machine that something was wrong, because the two techs all of a sudden were like, are you okay? Are you all right? You need help with anything? Their whole attitude towards me had changed. So I knew there was something in me that thought, wonder what they saw. Well, it ended up being a brain tumor. So when I went back to the doctor, he came in with a film of my brain and put it up on the wall behind me. And so I could see this brain with this blob in it. And he was a little bit on the rough side, and he told me what it was. And he said, you have some time. Here's what you need to look up, and I want you to go home and realize you have some options. You can do nothing, you can have surgery, you can have radiation. There's a lot of options. So you need to decide where you want to go with this, and then come back in about a month. Bye. I was by myself, and I remember driving home thinking, is this real? Talk about a shift in perspective. Is this what is really happening? And I'm looking around now, and I know many of you have had these kind of experiences where somebody says something to you and you're going, oh, how do I take this in? So I began to study and look around, and I did have some time. The tumor was not pressing on my brain cell yet, so I did have time to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was a big decision, and the funny thing in consulting was, I used to say to people when we were in a group, we had a problem to solve, something like that, I'd say, hey look guys, this isn't brain surgery. Guess what? I stopped using that. Because now I figured out that I better figure out what brain surgery really meant, and I'm not using that anymore. My words are very powerful, so I didn't want to use that anymore. So I went to many groups. There's groups for people to figure out what to do, and what I saw was very disturbing. I saw people who looked like stroke victims. I saw people who talked about their surgery experience, but if there's one cell left, the tumor can come back, which it had for several people. It went on and on. And I really just was in this place of, I just kept praying, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm not a brain surgeon, but it is my brain, so I have to make some decisions. I had at one point seriously made an appointment for surgery in California, and with a very world famous doctor who handles this kind of tumor. And I was with my family in Disney World a few days before. They wanted to take me there. And I remember the night before we left, I really still wasn't sure I was going to do what was right for me. And I remember going out on the balcony, and I don't remember ever praying like this before, but I said to God, I need an answer now. And I've always had a very strong faith, but I just wanted to be sure. Before I flew to California and had somebody cut skull open. Was I doing the right thing? And I had strong faith in it. I can still see it, looking out over the lake and in the dark and saying to God, I need an answer now. So what do you think happened? That morning I woke up to a phone call, and one of my clients, a doctor out in Long Island, called and said that there was a new patient in his chair who came in just now who had the same type of brain tumor as I did. He is a neurologist. He studies these brain tumors, and I said, my friend is going for surgery, and he said, get her on the phone and tell her not to do it, and I'll talk to her tonight. Wow. Now, you want to talk about an answer to prayer? It was so deep in me that God, whoever this man was, and I've come to believe maybe he was just an angel that showed up in this dentist chair, and I talked to him. We were the same age. We found out on the same day that we had this tumor. And it was the same size as mine. And he has spent his life at SUNY up in New York studying brain tumors. And he said, don't do the surgery, you'll never fully recover. There's other things you can do. And he decided to use the type of radiation where they put one of those things on your head, and they have 64 rays of radiation at one point going through your brain and heading to the center of the tumor. And what it does is actually slowly kills the brain tumor. And so I listened to him, and I looked around some more, and I actually found a doctor right at Jefferson here who had developed a way of treating a brain tumor with over 6 weeks and having the radiation just come into that one point and not go through your brain. Wow. I found that man within the next week. So I talked to him and I said, I think I'm doing this other one. And he said to me, oh, not me. He goes, I'm not sitting on one of those tables strapped in and a mask with your head bolted for 6 weeks. I'm just going to do it for one day. I said, okay, good luck. And I'm doing it for 6 weeks. And here I stand. And the tumor is, I don't like to say it's dead, it's necrotic, but I am living a full life. And the perspective I want to share is that my life changed at that point because my perspective and the way I decided to live and the things that happened around me completely shifted. I shifted. And it was no longer important for me to run around the country and help other people with their businesses and their staff. And it was important to me to take my life back. My perception shifted. So the divine paradox for me, the spiritual paradox was that while I was running around doing all these other things for people that were important, they're important, but I had made them more important than me. And it was my job to finally wake up and say, time to take care of you, it's time to take care of your spirit, it's time to take care of your life and let yourself take God's grace in this moment and shift that perspective. And it did. A lot of stuff happened. My significant other and my business partner had an affair. He said he couldn't handle all this. Gone. Left with this business to deal with. My finances shifted, and I realized that most of the money I was making was really going to just taking care of the business. It wasn't really important to me. It was about me taking care of my spiritual and physical well-being. It was about me learning that I mattered. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody else here ever have to have that kind of perspective?
Yes.
That on top of everything else, it's important for us to know that we matter. Because for many of us, especially I think many on this spiritual path, we've gotten a lot of messages along the way that we're kind of down here. Everybody else matters. Everybody else comes first. And we want to be a good person. When I was in Sunday school as a little girl, they gave me a little wooden plaque and it said joy, J-O-Y. Jesus first, others next, yourself last. And boy, did I take that in. What I realize now is that it's not like this. It's like this. J-O-Y. Jesus, others, yourself. We're all the children of God. We all matter. There's no hierarchy. It's like miracles. God doesn't care if you're asking to cure a brain tumor or a pimple. Doesn't matter. It's all that energy. It's all the same. And really, everything's love anyway, right? So why do I sometimes think it's more important to take care of other things and other people and put myself last? It's so important. It's so important. Take your hands like this for one moment, right? Just like this. And close your eyes for a second and just move them directly forward. Like that, and open up and see what are you looking at? Literally. What are you looking at? Something directly in front of you. Now close your eyes again and move your hands a little bit to the left. Now open your eyes and what do you see? Do you see the exact same thing? Just a little shift in perspective. If you look out, all of a sudden we're looking at something very different, aren't we? And it would be the same thing if we go to the other side. Right? Little shifts. And if we walked a different path and we just change a little bit of what we're doing and a little bit of faith and take that step in a different direction, a tiny step, we're going to end up in a very different place. Did you see that when you open your eyes? So sometimes we think it has to be this major, great big thing. And I tend to believe that it doesn't have to be something like a big brain tumor. It could just be, like me this morning, so much in my spiritual practices and reviewing my talk and meditating, that all of a sudden my whole morning was like, okay, get with it, girl. You have to get out the door and in the car. I was in a different place. And sometimes we need to be grounded enough to say, okay, let's just take a little shift here and move to it in a different way, in a different place. And Spirit will guide us. Spirit will guide us and get us there. There's a great little book I just love. It's called The Book of Joy, and it's conversations between the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And I just love it. It's a fabulous little book, and it's a delight to read. And I really would recommend it if you want something that really just speaks to so many different people, because it just doesn't matter that one was Catholic and one was Buddhist. And it didn't matter. They're friends, and they share spiritual perspectives. What is the healthy perspective that the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop bring to life, that allows them to greet life with so much joy in the face of so much sorrow? The Dalai Lama used the terms wider perspective and larger perspective. They involve stepping back within our own mind to look at the higher picture, to move beyond our limited self-awareness and our limited self-interest. Every situation we confront in life comes from the convergence of many contributing factors. And the Dalai Lama had explained we must look at any given situation or problem from the front and from the back, from the sides and from the top and from the bottom. He said we need to look at things from at least 6 different angles. This allows us to take more complete and holistic views of reality. And if we do, our response will be more constructive. We suffer from a perspective myopia, however he says it. As a result, we are left nearsighted, unable to see our experience in a larger way. When we confront a challenge, we often react to the situation with fear and anger. But if we try, we can become more skillful at handling things. We can ultimately have an attitude that will take us to a place where we can grow from the trauma and we can transform. How can a negative event actually become positive? We are being invited to see the blessing in the curse, the joy in the sorrow, the silver lining through experiments, and to take us out of our limited perspective. Take something bad that happened in the past and then consider all of the good that came out of it. Amazing, right? So these two people, they've known, he's since passed, but if you know their stories at all, especially when I think of the Dalai Lama, this man continues to say his religion is love. When he's asked about what his religion is, he'll tell you his religion is love. And he's been, and his country and his life has been filled with things that many would say were insurmountable, but he shifted his perspective. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of all things hoped for, the evidence of all things not seen. Faith. That's where we're at now, right? We're talking about having faith, of realizing that it doesn't matter what we're looking at here on this perspective. This world that we live in, which can be pretty amazingly difficult sometimes. As an individual, as a citizen, as someone who tunes into the news once in a while, right? That takes a lot of faith to stay grounded when we get to a day like that, doesn't it? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's a wow, isn't it? Wow. I love that word, wow. When you think about it, we could look at the world and go, oh, wow, it's really horrible. Or we can look and say, wow, did I just see Simone Biles do 3,000 flips in the air before she landed and won her gold? I mean, it's incredible. Wow is a word that we can use when we're at the depths of things, when we're at the height of things, when we're listening to someone and we just shake our head and cry and say, wow, I'm so sorry. Or we can look at something and go, wow, that's fantastic. I love that word because it expresses an emotion when we say it. And part of having faith and our prayers is the emotions that go with it. We can pray all we want, but if we're really in a negative place when we pray, the universe is hearing what we really feel, what we truly feel. There was a commercial years ago, and it was Mother Nature in the woods, kind of like, has beautiful birds and deers, and it's gorgeous, and someone hands her this little buttered piece of bread or something, and she just loves it. Oh, she says it's so good. She loved the butter, and somebody said to her, it's not butter. It was some type of margarine. And she went, boom! And she said, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. And there was this huge, remember that? She said, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Well, guess what? We can't fool Mother Nature. We can't fool the universe. If we pray, or if we are wanting something to happen, or if we're not wanting something to happen, we really need to have the faith that God itself will take care of it. That it's there, that divine right action, as Rita said, that the good is there. Because if we're believing in the back, hey, this isn't butter, this is margarine, right? If we're saying deep inside, I don't know, this seems pretty ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm bothering. Why am I praying? There's no way this is going to happen, or there's no way I'm going to be healed. There's no way I'm ever going to be happy. If deep inside that's what we believe, guess what's going to happen to us? This is what we really believe is going to unfold. We can say it all we want. We can say, well, this is where I'm going and this is going to be great. But inside, I'm saying, well, I don't know. I really have a lot of doubt. What we're going to manifest is what we truly believe. This is why taking classes, like Brenda said, like foundations and studying and learning to retrain our thoughts and our perspective is so critical. It's critical because if we don't get deep down and really examine what we believe, if I believe really that joy is for everybody else and I'm at the bottom, how in the world am I going to ever get to a place where I believe and feel joy in my heart? Right? Science of mind. Good old Ernie. Good old Ernie. I love Ernie. He has a little blurb here called the ascending scale of life. We are changed from glory to glory. This implies that the divine scale is ever ascending. There is no end to the divine nature, therefore no end to the possibilities of our expressing it. But we must behold it. We must behold it. We must look steadfastly into this reality, capital R, if we are to image it in our own minds. We could read that a million times. We must look at ourselves and our own minds and realize, what am I imaging for myself? What am I imaging? What am I seeing for real? There is no forlorn outlook, no limiting concept. All that God has or is belongs to us and is ours to make use of. We are not to separate life from living, but unite the two into a perfect one. We're not to separate life from living. Big life, living, it's all one. The thing and the way it works, the glory and the image in common affairs of everyday life, nor hath eye seen, nor can tongue tell, the greater possibility of any soul. I have no idea, but I'm looking around this room right now. Your souls are bright lights. And I can only begin to imagine the good, the light you shine, how many people you've touched. We may never know, but I know it's your truth. Know it. Only God has revealed this through his Son, and his Son is in each one of us, from the apparent least to the apparent greatest. And the world is saturated in divinity, immersed in reality, and filled with possibility. We must take this divine possibility and mold it into a present actuality in our everyday experience. That's what we do. Whether we realize it or not, we're doing that. So when we learn to understand more the power that we have within us, we begin to mold our days, our life, our friendships, our work, our joy, our families. We begin to mold it in a way that is so positive. And it brings us freedom, and it is a pathway to peace and happiness. This is the way to freedom, pathway, mold our lives, to mold our thoughts. And it is a scale. He's saying it's an ascending scale. I think of it as a ladder. So if we have this experience and it's kind of flattens us, we all know that, right? I don't know many people who are walking on water that haven't had an experience that just flattens them. If we're here, we have to have enough faith to go to that, at least that bottom rung and hang on. Now sometimes it's too much. It's just too much. And this is when we, as healers ourselves, either reach out to someone and help them take that ladder, or say to them, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to hold that rung for you. I'm going to have enough faith for you to know that you're going to get over here and be able to climb to a different place, that you're going to ascend in this life. Because we don't always see the way. And it's so important. It's so important. These spiritual communities like we have here, do you know how many people do you know that don't have one like this? Many? Yeah. So many people aren't in a place where they know they can go and say, somebody's going to pray with me today. Somebody's going to sing about joy today. Somebody's going to look at me and say, you know what? You look great today. Or you know what? Are you okay? Wow. Do you want to talk about it? It's so important. This is why we're here, to share this love and help each other so that we can climb that ascending ladder of life. What it really takes is to let go of the fear and move into our truth. Let go of the fear. And if we need help, please ask for it. I can't tell you how many people, when I was going through the experience I started with, reached out to me, kept me in prayer. At the same time, there was a lot of people I wish didn't know, because all they wanted to do is, oh my God, oh, this is terrible. What are you going to do? Have you thought about what you would do if you died? Have you made a will? They go there. Anybody had that experience? Has anybody had that experience where instead of lifting you up, they're in the depths of, ain't it awful? And guess what? Without realizing it, they kind of want to keep you there. And you don't want that. You have to turn from that. That's not helpful. The woe is me stuff isn't helpful. Having somebody see me as damaged or ill or dying isn't helpful. I want people around me who say, here, take my hand. We're going to have faith together. Aren't we blessed? Look around. Aren't we blessed?
Yes.
We have this perspective, and we can use it to have a good life. We can use it to create things that make a difference in our world and in our lives and in ourselves. What do we know about the faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed? The mustard seed. That little bit of faith can take us from the bottom rung and help us move up to a place where we can live a life that God wants us to live together. What a joy, true joy inside. It's a gift. It's a God-given gift, and it's a spiritual practice. Hope is a spiritual practice. Joy is a spiritual practice. Love is a spiritual practice. And that's where we need to live and create our world. And when we're there, then we can help others do the same. So let's just close your eyes for a minute. Let's do let's just do some things that we can resonate with and say out loud. I have a glad heart. Repeat after me. I have a glad heart.
I have a glad heart.
Glad tidings of great joy, of love and life are mine.
Glad tidings of great joy, love and laughter are mine.
My soul and my life are filled with boundless love.
My soul and my life are filled with boundless love.
I have the strength to climb and reach my good.
I have the strength to climb and reach my good.
My good is my ultimate experience.
My good is my ultimate experience.
Because God is with me every step of the way.
Because God is with me every step of the way.
And I am guided by right action now.
And I am guided by great action now.
I am guided by the light of Spirit.
I am guided by the light of Spirit.
The light of Spirit shines from the center of my being.
The light of Spirit shines from the center of my being.
This light illuminates my path.
This light illuminates my path.
And that light is God within me.
And that light is God within me.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Amen.